Peace, family. What's going on? It's your good brother, Bro Rob, coming to y'all. I got a short little bill on the real Christopher Columbus. And what I just wanted to throw this out here. This is something that a presentation I had been holding for a minute. I might have shared portions of it when I was doing another presentation. Africans are not in this. The information it overlaps. So what I like to do today with y'all, if y'all don't mind, is go over details about Christopher Columbus. And I mean, of course, um, I'm not discounting that. It might be people out there that know a little bit more Christopher Columbus than me. Like I said, and I keep saying, I don't know it all. You know, but what I try to do is, the little that I do know, I'll be willing to get on here and share with y'all. So this is not something that I was taught in school. You know, this is something that I learned on my own. Giving myself that second education, so to speak. So with that, what I like to do is start sharing my screen with y'all, and yeah, I'ma just go ahead with the presentation. Like I said, it's not that long, and hopefully I can get a couple of viewers, but if not, it's like I said, it's just information. And uh, I'll get started in a second. I'll get started in a second. So here, let me presentation and let me start sharing. Share. Okay. And so I can't look at the chat, uh, when I first pulled it up, it didn't look like anybody was online with me. But it's all good because I'm just trying to get the information out, and then from there, people can go back and always look at it. So the real this presentation is going to present information on his impact socially, politically, economically. So some vocabulary word concepts. Of course, I gotta throw these out here. I'm an educator professionally, so of course I'm always have something like this. As destiny is, what is it? It's a concept, and what Europeans were saying to themselves. In this minute, anybody can go and take a look at it. What they saying to themselves is, if what wrong, then God Almighty Himself is going. If not, I'm gonna proceed, and that is what we would call manifest destiny. Organization about the Columbian Exchange, the Black Legend, the introduction of imperialism, what is a master narrative, semantics, the exploration age. This was the age that Christopher Columbus was operating in. Mercantilism. What is a conquistador? The Spanish Inquisition, circa, viceroy, feudalism, a pandemic, and then indigenous, right? So, who is Christopher Columbus? Columbus was born in Genoa, Italy. So, by definition, Christopher Columbus was not Spanish. He was actually Italian. He started sailing when he was 14. And this is documented. He was extremely ambitious. He was a big dreamer. He was a maritime explorer. He was a Roman Catholic. He had two sons. One was named the other Endo. Yeah, one son, brothers. Um, so Christopher Columbus was a reader. This is Marco Polo, and those inscriptions on the side of the page, that is Christopher Columbus handwriting. He's writing Latin, notating in the books of Marco Polo. That's Christopher Columbus's handwriting right there. You know, who is there are many pictures of Christopher Columbus, but to my understanding, we don't have a true depiction of what Columbus looked like. Um, there's many on his real name, you know, and as you read languages right there, Italian, Spanish, and Latin, that's why we call him Christopher Columbus. Um, interest in the Bible, heavily documented that he sailed the Guinea coast or the of Africa for 23 years, documented 1482 to 1485. He was married in 1477. Powerful banking family. This family was called the Lombards. His wife, I don't want to butcher her name, get right there. Mons Prestalio. I'm butchering the name, but assertion here is that Christopher Columbus married into Emily that was tending to be Catholic. Inquisition is what brung this on. Um, this is documented by some of the sailors that sailed with Christopher Columbus. He was not a very moral man. He took a mistress, and there, again, I would, but that is documented in 4. He was not known as a scholar, but again, he read Ptolemy and Marco Polo. Like I said on a previous slide, this young man, uh, Christopher Columbus, when he was a young man, he was extremely ambitious, big dreamer, right? So Christopher Columbus inadvertently started what is known as the Columbian Exchange. And you can see right here, um, these are the things that were transported. So in that column in the middle, that's from Europe. The first thing we'll start with is diseases. Why diseases, Brother Rob? Well, those diseases is what decimated, devastated the indigenous population here in North America. Y'all can see the list: malaria, typhus, measles, influenza, smallpox, yellow fever, whooping cough, and the common cold. The only disease that left the New World back into Europe was syphilis. A lot of the sailors that came to the New World went back to Europe with syphilis. They popped up everywhere. Popped up in Italy and Spain and Portugal. So they didn't know exactly where it came from, but it was obvious that all of these gentlemen had syphilis, and it came from the New World. No one had ever encountered syphilis until they came to the New World. Also animals were transported. So from Europe, they had pigs, cattle, horses, sheep, goats, and chicken. Right to the New World, from to Europe, you had turkeys, llamas, alpacas, and guinea pigs. But the most impactful of the Columbian exchange, and we still feel that to this day, is the plants. And these plants were produced industrially in the New World, you know. And the list is expansive, so I'm not gonna even try to read it. But one thing of note is chocolate. The Queen of England loved chocolate. Some people argue, some historians argue, that this is the reason, the chief reason, that Great Britain decided to get into the slave trade because of Queen Elizabeth's affection for chocolate. You know, but that's a matter of opinion. That's a matter of perception, if you will. So the master narrative, Christopher Columbus, you know, he came over here, he met the natives, you know, he was an explorer, and you know, he brought good tidings of good joy and all of that. That is the master narrative, right? Not so much. That is not what happened. That is not what happened. But that is the story that they push. We have to understand the political meaning of history. And there's a reason why they wanted to cover up the atrocities of Christopher Columbus. It's a reason why. Because this, and a lot of circles, they would say that this is the worst atrocity in human history. First contact in the Western world. So before Europeans came, there were three major empires here in the Western world. First, starting with the Inca. You can see that they had highly developed farming techniques. That land that's not occurring naturally, those are people cutting those trusses into the land. And the picture at the top in the right hand corner, that's a picture of Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu is known to have an invisible pyramid. It only is visible during, as I understand it, I might be incorrect. It's been a little while since I studied Incan culture. It might only be visible though in the spring equinox and the autumn equinox. I believe that's when it's visible, but I'm not exactly sure. But I believe I'm pretty accurate, but I could be wrong. But that's one of the empires. The second empire, and the remnants of this empire, they are still visible to this day, is the Mayan Empire. The Mayan Empire, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, they had statues of note. In the center, in the top left hand, in the center, in the top row, that is a picture of their sundial, where it had the great countdown, and everybody thought the world was going in 2012 and all that. Y'all remember that? So that's what that clock it count down to 2012, and that's an artist depiction in the bottom right hand corner, right? And then the last empire of note is the Aztec Empire. You know, it's an artist depiction in the top right hand corner. In the bottom left hand corner, you can see that the architecture is definitely elaborate. And then in the bottom left hand corner, that you can clearly see that they built the city in the middle of a lake. Let me repeat that. They built the city in the middle of a lake. So these people had to have high culture in order to do this. Right? It's a whole story. I don't want to, of course, I'm talking about Christopher Columbus, but I just wanted to make sure that I gave credit to the empires that existed before Christopher Columbus stepped foot in the Caribbean, the Yucatan Peninsula. So now I'm going to talk about the Black legend. Now, the Black legend, some historians will say that it was exaggerated for political purposes, but nonetheless, the atrocities that the indigenous people here in the Western Hemisphere of the world encountered due to Christopher Columbus coming is well noted, as you can see in the picture. They hanging the baby on the left hand, on the left, right there by his umbilical cord, and his mother is already there hanging dead, with the priest giving him his last rites. Right here in the Black legend, you can see over the fire gallows, if you count the bodies, those 13 bodies. And the reason why 13 bodies is because that was supposed to represent Jesus and his 12 disciples, which is the reason why it's 13. And then again, you can see the young lady hanging in the tree. She had to be of some type of royalty. You can see the crown on her head, but the atrocities is what I'm trying to point out. Christopher Columbus did not bring civilization. What Christopher Columbus brought was death and destruction. And it definitely needs to be duly noted. So, how does Mina Castle play a part in Christopher Columbus? Well, he said that he sailed up and down the Guinea coast for 23 years, right? Mina Castle was built E2. That's roughly 10 years before they pushed the rest of the Moors out of Spain. Roughly 10 years. So, that being said, it's very important. It's very important that we understand that it was a progression, right? This was the first of 36 slave posts built in Ghana in 1482. In the top left-hand corner, that is the door of no return. What African slaves knew was when you went through their door, you never came back. This is why it's referred to as the door. So some background knowledge on the time period, right? Europeans' motivation. The Turkish Empire or the Ottoman Empire cut routes by land to India. Now, they were trying to find a way to get to India, right? Was because of that. Because the Ottoman Empire was very powerful, and there was no way to get to India by land. You had to sail, right? Second point, mostly all European countries important. So they don't know they ready. You know what I'm saying? Like people ready, forefooting. And this is where the word racism comes from. It was a race. Once the land was discovered, it was a race to see who was going first. Racism was invented. It's very important. Sometimes I feel like in conversation we overlook that. But this is how race was invented. Race and racism barely a none in history. You know. Third point, there was lack of natural resources in Europe. When you go to Europe right now, hey, look, find some trees. Find You're not gonna find no super old trees, cause they was all cut down for war and for building, and it was stony land. That's why Colonial exchange was necessary. They couldn't know enough for feed they people. New route to India in 1488. This is how Portugal found it. So what Portugal did, that I can't remember the name of the sailor now, but they found the way to India by sailing all the way to South Africa and then straight to India. So Spain was motivated, and that's why they gave Christopher Columbus' family the money to find a new route. Motivated to get India. That's lost in history. Second thing, Portugal had control in West Africa. They had been trading for a while. The next thing, important, like I said, they was on a war footing. Europeans recovered from the Black Death and the 100 Years' War. It's very important. So these people was ready for war. They already had a servant system. They called it serfdom, right? They already had a system. They had enslaved their own people for years. So they was prepared with indigenous people to enslave Africans. They had they mastered the practice on each other. And so yeah, it was somewhat easy for them to go ahead, people that they had never met before, people that had gave no inkling of war, right? It was very to do this because they was coming to war 100 more than 100 years. They years war, right? They coming off the bubonic plague. So of course, every place that in Chicago, man, that's a lick. When they hit the land, it's known as Dominican Republic today, but at the time they called it Hispaniola, island of Hispaniola. They had found themselves a lick, right? So to wrap it up, this is just a short bill on Christopher Columbus. The impact of Christopher Columbus. He introduced racism. He introduced the idea of Western racism. I will front on you because you are different from me. He set in motion colonialism. He set it in motion in the Western world. He set into motion the exploitation of two continents, North and South America. He set that in motion. And the attitude that he and other conquistadors were using, like I said earlier, manifest destiny. He introduced the social construct of ownership. The reason why they were able to come and take the land was because indigenous people said to themselves, man, I can't sell you no grass. I can't sell you no dirt. Man, I can't own this. Yeah, you want to own the land? You want to give me something for it? All right, bet, man. You talking crazy. And so that's why the indigenous people of North America and the Yucatan Peninsula and South America, that's why they was selling their land for seashells and trinkets. Because in their mind, you can't sell land, right? Transatlantic slave trade. He set for it, right? Using organized religion as a rationale for slavery. He like would stop him if you wasn't destined. And although ambition, his mission was an act of criminality. It is duly noted that he murdered and maimed pretty much all of the people that he came in contact with. All of them. All of them. And the precedent that he set is what Europeans followed right after. So that's my short bill on Christopher Columbus. And let me stop sharing my screen, see if anybody fell through to see what your boy was talking about. You know. But that's my short little bill. Oh, I do got a couple people. All right. On my screen, let me try to flip over to the chat. Am I still sharing my screen, or did I ever share the screen? Did y'all see the presentation? I wanted to make sure. Hey, just put a warning there for anybody that's listening, just to make sure that y'all seen the presentation. Did y'all see it? Just a one. Just all I need is one, just to make sure. Oh man. But all right, good, good. So that being said, this was just a short little bill. I needed to I just needed to go ahead and put this out here just to make sure that everybody we all understand who Christopher Columbus really was. That the reason why Christopher Columbus Day became a holiday, right? Let me throw this out there too. It's called the Knights of Columbus. If you go to Google, you're gonna the Knights of Columbus. These were people who were organized under the Catholic Church and during the presidency of Franklin D. Roosevelt. By him, Catholic, and the Catholic Church looking for a hero, the Irish, all of these new Irish immigrants, they was trying to just give the Irish young men somebody to look up to. That's why they gave him Christopher Columbus. They was gonna go back and look all at his history and look into the man of who he was. And so during FDR's presidency, he enacted Christopher Columbus Day because the Catholic Church one more time was looking for a hero to prop up to inspire Irish young men, the immigrants into this country, right? So this is how you use politics to kind of shape your political and worldview, and inspire an entire generation, you know. So for people who interested in these types, I think it's important that we all have the same understanding. And one other key thing during the presentation, I hope y'all picked up on that. He married into a very rich family called the Lombards. And these, one more time, I am inferring here that they were a Jewish family that was pretending to be Catholic during the Spanish Inquisition in Spain. Ferdinand and Isabella, basically, they was like, hey, if you're not Catholic, we gonna kill you. You dead. You know, so Jews, they practiced their religion at night and in secret, right? And kept their religious practice going and just was playing like they was Catholic. You know, this is well documented. So that's my bill for today. I hope that those that are listening learn something. You know, because that's what I put it out here for, is just information. And with that being said, you know, I appreciate everybody that tuned in. You know, I'm gonna flip over, listen to my good brother JT and DS1. They about to do sports talk. So I'm just encouraging everybody to come over there and listen to they sports I'm about to do, and I'm signing off. All right, later.